Hi, I'm Dempsey Palat, and this week I'm reviewing Now, before I start this video, I just want to remind you all of a couple of things. First and foremost, if you like this video, please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. I post new videos like this weekly, and while I may not be posting movie reviews as frequently for the next couple of weeks, you can still look forward to other things such as ranked lists. I do have my favorite films of the decade as well as my favorite films of the year coming out, and I might even have something else for you guys, so make sure you stay tuned. And secondly, this review will actually be a spoiler-filled review, so if you haven't seen the movie, which I'm pretty sure most people have, please go see it. Well, we'll talk about it, but just know that this is spoiler-filled. I'm not going to hold back. There's a lot of things that I want to cover, and yeah, I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's get into it. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker was directed by J.J. Abrams and features the return of Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Adam Driver, Billy Dee Williams, and Carrie Fisher, among many others. And this film is the epic conclusion to not only the sequel trilogy, but the Skywalker saga, and follows Rey as she tries to uncover the truth about her past, while simultaneously trying to figure out how to defeat Emperor Palpatine, who somehow returned from the dead. So I initially intended to review this film a lot sooner, but after watching it, I decided I really needed to sit on it because, as we all know, this was an experience. And after taking some time to really think about it and digest it, I've come to the conclusion that this was not a bad film, okay? It just had a lot of bad things in it. A lot of bad aspects, rather. So, where do we begin, right? This film spends a lot of time undoing the events of The Last Jedi, which I really don't understand, and we'll get into that a little bit later. I have a theory on that. But the number one thing that pissed me off about this film was the fact that they killed Chewbacca. Not completely, as we all know. It was like for 2-3 minutes. But it was so dumb, okay? First of all, it was so predictable that he wasn't really dead. But even though it was kind of predictable, it really did hurt to think that they would even toy with your emotions in that way. But come on, we all know that if you're going to kill Chewbacca, he's not going to, first of all, just die. He's going to go out with a bang defending something that he loves, okay? He's going to go out with purpose. You can't just do that. You cannot do that to Chewbacca. It blows my mind that they would even dare to try something like that. But, yeah, they did. Next up, General Hux was a good guy? I mean, I'm not even being ironic here when I say, who knew? He's literally the most hateful character in the sequel trilogy. He talks about how he hates everyone and everything. He's always angry. He literally destroys a whole fleet of rebel ships in the beginning of The Last Jedi. And now in this one, he's a spy, a good guy. It is the most out-of-character thing in the world. It feels extremely forced. And the fact that he was revealed to be the spy was also somewhat predictable. Especially the way that it is revealed that he's like, I'm the spy. Oh my god, it was so cringy. It kind of felt a lot to me like, you know, the end of episode 1 where Palpatine is revealed to be the evil emperor. It was just like that surprising of a reveal where, you know, really wasn't surprising at all. And after he's revealed to be the spy, he dies like immediately after, which really just defeats the purpose, you know. For a character of his stature, having been built across 3 films, I would have expected a lot more, and I was expecting a lot more. I wanted something else to happen with this character, and I don't think that what they did with it was really fulfilling. And Rose, what they did with Rose was even more disrespectful, in my opinion, because she goes from being built up in The Last Jedi, you know, appearing in the second of 3 films where you think she's going to have a really important role. But here she's just hanging out. She's just a part of the resistance. She's just chilling. She's arguably got the same role as Billy Lord's character, which is another problem in and of itself. But it just really upset me that we have a character with that's shown to have so much promise, and she's just like, nope, you're not important. You're not necessary for this arc. We're not going to need you. Just, you know, we'll keep you on the bill. And, you know, if I'm not mistaken, I saw the 4-year consideration page for Star Wars, and she's being pushed for Best Supporting Actress. I mean, obviously she's not going to get it, but why even bother? Seriously. And that leads me to my next issue with this film. There are a lot of unresolved things left over from The Last Jedi. Mainly, this guy. Okay, like, what was even the point of him? Okay, but that's a totally different discussion for a totally different video. But Rose kissed Finn at the end of The Last Jedi. You know, and that, while that felt forced in and of itself, I mean, it's never even acknowledged in this film. Okay? And on top of that, throughout this film, there's this recurring thing that actually reminded me of Frozen, what Kristoff does in Frozen, where he's like, and spoiler alert if you haven't seen Frozen, sorry about that, but where he's like, oh, Anna, I have something to ask you. Literally throughout this film, Finn is like, oh, Rey, I gotta tell you something later. And it becomes like a bit, but then it amounts to nothing. We never find out what that something is. And I guess I kind of see that they're trying to make it as obvious as can be what that something is, but obviously it's not that obvious, if that makes sense. I mean, J.J. Abrams just came out in an interview today or yesterday, whenever this video was released, to talk about what that thing was, because obviously it wasn't that apparent to audiences. And on top of that, Rey is like in some love triangle, apparently. I mean, personally, to me, it's always made sense for Finn to be her main love interest. Always. Like, I always saw that connection. And then kind of at The Last Jedi, with the way the dialogue flowed between her and Poe, I thought that there might have been something there, but always I thought that it made the most sense for her and Finn to be together. Nope. Apparently, she's got a thing for Kylo Ren or Ben or whatever he's going by now. It blows my mind that she just kissed him like that. I always thought that their connection was more like brotherly, and that's what kind of fueled the speculation that she might be a Skywalker in the first place. But yeah, what's up with the forced kisses in this sequel trilogy? It blows my mind. And then we don't know who she ends up with at all. I mean, not to say that a woman needs to end up with a man, because I'm not saying that at all. But honestly, like, what was even the point of even fueling the possibility of those relationships if they were just going to lead to nothing? Also in this film, we find out who Rey's parents really are. Yeah, they weren't nobodies after all. They were Palpatines, which, you know, they might as well been nobodies, because who the hell saw that coming? I mean, I'm not saying it's a good twist. It made no sense. Definitely did not see that coming. It honestly felt like a reason just to bring Palpatine back in the picture. Can't say that I'm the biggest fan of it. It literally makes no sense, because she eventually renounces that last name to become a Skywalker anyway. For that, you should have just made her a Skywalker in the first place. I mean, I talk about things that feel forced. No pun intended. But I think a lot of the problems that I have with this film are the fact that there's a lot of things that feel forced. A lot of things that were kind of pushed into places, like when you're doing a puzzle and the piece doesn't fit, so you're just jamming it into place to make it fit. That's what I feel happens a lot in this film. And on top of that, everything's just so rushed. You guys remember the last 20 minutes of Revenge of the Sith, where George Lucas is plucking all these characters and putting them in their correct startup positions for A New Hope? It's much worse than that. And, you know, there's really no excuse, because at least with Revenge of the Sith, there was a story that it needed to conform to, right? If everything wasn't done properly at the end of this film, then some of the stuff in A New Hope might not have made as much sense. Here, you can't say the same thing, because there is no story past this, that we know of anyway. So they really could have done anything, and I'm surprised that they didn't really split this film into two films. I think that would have, one, been a brilliant marketing strategy for Disney, and two, it would have made the story feel a lot more comfortable to watch. It wouldn't have felt so rushed. I honestly don't understand the constraints of trilogies in this saga. What's the point? Like, just tell the story. Just tell the damn story. And the last 20 minutes of this film are much worse than Revenge of the Sith, because they're literally trying to tie things up at a breakneck speed. So much so that you can kind of feel the directors winking at you when something's wrapped up. Especially the Lando scene. Like, what the hell was... First of all, I don't even know if that Lando scene made sense as a conclusion, because it kind of implies that that girl, Janna, the new character, is, like, related to him, I think. Right? That's what I got from it. The way he looks at her and says, well, let's find out. And the way she looks at him is like almost, she practically says, Daddy. Like, why? There is just too much happening in this film. And as much as I want to blame the writers, specifically you, Chris Terrio, you know what you did, I want to blame the studio even more. I don't even want to blame J.J. Abrams. Yeah, that's right, I don't. Because this doesn't feel like a J.J. Abrams movie. I'm telling you. Watch The Force Awakens and then skip directly to this film. You'll notice a total tonal shift. You can feel just how much Disney had their hand in the pot on this one. It feels like a blatant attempt to retcon everything that happened in The Last Jedi instead of accepting it and building upon it, which absolutely could have worked. As I said before, despite this film not being exactly what I expected, I still kind of enjoyed it. It had a lot of really cool Easter eggs, and it had a lot of really great callbacks to some of the other films, and even the TV shows. I'm pretty sure I don't have to mention that one scene where you hear all the Jedi's voices, but, alright, Galaxy Bray here, imagine how cool it would have been, or how much cooler it would have been, if we got, like, an Endgame type conclusion. Like you know how at the end of Endgame you see all the superheroes pop out of little portals, right? What if instead we saw all the Force ghosts of all the Jedis attack Palpatine? Like, why didn't they think of that? I would have thrown my wallet at the screen, okay? That would have been the best movie ever, honestly. But they didn't, okay? They were not thinking big enough. Despite being rushed, I actually did like a lot of the send-offs for the original characters. I love what they did with Carrie Fisher's character. I thought it was perfect. I love the fact that we got to see Luke and Han Solo again. I love the fact that Han actually got to speak to his son this time, and I loved his last words to him as well. In fact, the whole Ben Solo arc to me is probably my favorite part of this movie, and probably of the trilogy, just because it's so unexpected. I mean, who expected him to actually redeem himself? I thought he was really going to die on that ship. Many people might think that the title The Rise of Skywalker might just apply to Rey, but personally, I also feel like it applies to Ben too. I mean, they literally do rise up against Palpatine and the Knights of Ren in this movie. And by the way, the whole sequence with the Knights of Ren where he pulls the lightsaber from behind his back, okay, chef's kiss. At the bare minimum, it's a satisfying conclusion to the pop culture phenomenon to end all pop culture phenomenon. Could it have been better? Absolutely. But it also could have been a hell of a lot worse.
He's embarrassing.
And for that, I'm going to give this film 3.5 stars.
The Force will be with you.
Always.
But the real burning question on my mind is, where was Baby Yoda in all this? Guys, as always, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to view this video. It really does mean the world to me. And once again, if you like this video, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe as well. I post new videos like this weekly, and I'm always working on something new. Now, if you happen to see this movie, I know a lot of people have many different opinions on it. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? How many times have you seen it? Did you enjoy some of the stuff that I spoke about in this video, or do you even like this kind of video format? Because I'd be open to doing more of these in the future if you like them. Now, one last question I'd like to pose to you all is, do you think that this is the end of the Skywalker saga? For real? Personally, I don't. And that's just because a couple years back, I remember reading about how George Lucas, when he first outlined the whole story, he outlined it as 12 chapters. And as of right now, we only have 9. So, looks like we'll be seeing you in another 10 years, George. Until then, well, obviously way before then, that's pretty much all the time that I have for today. Merry Christmas, guys. Thank you so much for everything. And yeah, be on the lookout for more content soon. Until next time, I'm Dempsey Pallot. Take care.